Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
Yeah, so we're going to do our second part of parking in the park. There is no parking basically. I mean, there's a bit of parking up there for the zoo beside the Garda headquarters. But the park itself, if you want to just cycle up there now and have a look at the trees or go for a walk or anything, it's very difficult. You have to go all the way up to the Pope's Cross. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Well, because and then there'll be plenty of parking there now when it's gone scarce, as hen's teeth in this where there was parking previously. Now, nobody objects to it's a good thing for people to cycle. Regretfully, I cycled when I was younger because that was the way to get about in the city. And when I come up to the city, I got my father to bring the bike up in the train, which he did, and I collected it in the North Wall, which was a good service sometimes. And off I went on my bike, and so that's how I travelled, and sometimes on the bus then if I had to, or the train. Bicycle, I used bicycles quite a lot, and so did everybody. If you were in O'Connell Street them times when it was good and wide, the place would be full of bicycles. People going home for their lunch. You'd see more bicycles than you'd have hot dinners. It was the best I ever saw, and I remember cycling there too. And I used to cycle out to the North Strand for my dinner. So Dublin was awash with bicycles, and people were using them. But with the transport of people getting cars, bicycles took a back seat, and so it's no harm that to have some safety for cycling. It's a pity that they ever had to cycle at footpaths because then it can injure pedestrians, which pedestrians have been injured. But be that as it may, we're talking about the park. I think cars were able to park there for years, and I think their rights have been interfered with. We're all in favour of cycle lanes for the safety of the cyclists, but I'm sure they could have spent a few bob putting it in some other part and see nature and all the rest. Perhaps get off their bicycles and have a walk around the same as people that had cars. So I think people with cars have rights as well. After all, they're paying a lot of taxes to the state. And if the state interfering with cars, perhaps we'll all get rid of our cars if we're in the city and use public transport. Because when you reach a certain age, you're free travel. So it'd be a lot cheaper to do that. But they depend on the tax that they charge, excessive tax on cars. Where would they get the money then? Unless they started putting tax on bicycles. That's what they might do. So I'm just saying that I think they should, people in cars have rights, and I think they should respect those rights, as any natural government would do. And I think it's a shame that they interfered with the people there. And I'd ask them to reconsider this business of what they've done in the park. They haven't improved it. It looks kind of ugly with all those posts along where the cycle people that are cycling. And now cars are nearly banned. That's no way to sort of treat people that have cars. I mean, they deserve respect the same as anybody. We all like to see cyclists and see them to be safe. So that's all I'd say about that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think what they done was there was an accident in the park. So before the actual cycle lane was up on the grass verge, it wasn't on the road, right? But
Yes.
then there was a cyclist. There was a collision, I think, with a cyclist and a pedestrian, or there was something happened anyway. It ended up in the death of somebody about a couple of years ago, and I think that was part of the reason why they put the cycle lane on the road, um, out
Mm,
of so they'd be out of harm's way, probably, you know. But it's not
I
working
see.
because, as I say, it's made a mess of the
No.
park, and they need to consider now maybe putting some kind of decent car park into the park, you know.
Well, yes, and facilitate the people in cars because not everybody with families are cycling because it could be considered, especially in the city, a hazard in some ways. And though they have cycle lanes introduced in there, they're nearly banning the car. But I think they have to respect people that have cars. They cost money, and we pay taxes, and we pay high taxes to the government here, higher than many another country. They pay no taxes in France, funny enough, on cars. It's the petrol and the fuel that pays the taxes. And so, therefore, it's in their interest to have the cars that are not persecuting them the way they are here. I just mentioned that it would be wise to facilitate people in cars and they were able to park in the park and give them back those rights that they had. After all, if you block people's rights away, there's often court cases. Now, I think it's only natural that they should respect people that have cars and that want to be able to park in the park as they used to be heretofore, and put the cycle lanes in somewhere that will be safe and be able to cycle. Because there are accidents on the M50 every day and it holds up traffic, but they're not going to close off the M50 for all cyclists, are they?
They're not
So these
indeed.
are things that they want to sort of follow through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.